everybody, and welcome to episode 114 of Highwind Herald. I'm Wolfgans, that soloist over there. It's weird doing this with video.
Yo,
we've got a big show for you tonight. I think that actually soloist gets to do most of the talking for. But before that, we start every episode, of course, with a trivia question, and based on the topic of the week, of the month, of the year, it is Final Fantasy VII based. Are you ready for this question?
No,
okay,
because if this week has taught me anything, it's that I don't remember anything about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, you might get this one. Where was the original Avalanche founded?
Not Midgar. That sounds like it would be too obvious.
Doesn't it?
I'm gonna say something crazy and say Junon.
No, incorrect.
What is it?
Where does it? Okay, let's talk through it for a minute. Where does it make sense that it would be founded?
Nibelheim?
No. What's their core beliefs? What are they driving? What are they trying to do? Avalanche. What's their mission?
They're trying to stop the Mako, to save the planet.
Okay.
It's killing the planet.
Exactly.
Man.
And who knows most about the planet and the effects?
Cosmo
Canyon.
Cosmo Canyon. I would have never expected that.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised too, because I was just looking up I was looking up trivia questions. I was trying to find a good one, and I came across that one. I was like, Midgar is not the right answer. Can't be. A lot of the story apparently takes place in like before Crisis, which I don't think I played. Was that a mobile? PSP? Hell, that could have been like a pocket game. I don't even know.
Before Crisis? Isn't that a new thing?
No, that's Ever Crisis is the new one. Before Crisis new? I don't think so.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I have heard of it. I think you play as. Oh my god, I am so blanking. What's the Shinra people? Turks, I think. Man, we're off to a great start.
Interesting.
This is how it goes.
Shinra people.
Oh yeah, Before Crisis. Here we go. Before Crisis. Closed in 2018, released in 2004. So yeah, it was. It's an older one, definitely. Japanese action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix, of course. Oh yeah, produced for mobile phones and was released on NTT Docomo's. I don't know what that is.
Interesting. Okay. Weird.
I don't know what that is. That must be a Japanese thing. Anyway, yeah, I just kind of arbitrarily picked a Final Fantasy VII topic though, because I mean that game's like 30 years old, so no one really thinks about it anymore. There's really nothing going on.
Maybe they should remake it.
I think, you know what I think would be better instead of remaking it? I think they should remake it twice.
I think they should rebirth it.
Maybe 3 times. What do you think about that?
Maybe. Which I have come to the conclusion that the third game, by the way, is going to be called Reunion.
It almost has to be. I think we've talked about this before. I think that's the perfect
Reunion.
I think it's the perfect name. I really do.
Yeah, Reunion. So that'll be the.
I'm just gonna go ahead and get let the cat out of the bag. I don't have this game. I haven't picked it up. I haven't played it. Mainly financial reasons. I just did not have $70 I could drop on a game right now. Still playing through Final Fantasy 16, and I just couldn't rationalize dropping another $70 on a game. Not that I don't want to. It's why I've been saying you should buy it physical and then just let me borrow it.
I couldn't find it physical.
Blast through it.
I went to GameStop and they didn't have it, so I had to do digital.
At least you tried. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I will get it. And I promise not to wait till like next year to get it, but it might be a month or so before Now that I'm off Twitter and I don't see spoilers for things, my FOMO has gone way down.
People have been pretty good about spoilers for this game. I almost saw an IGN post.
Oh, IGN's bad for spoilers.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth makes a mess out of that one scene. Click here for major spoilers. And I'm like, oh my god, what? I was like,
not just that. IGN almost every time uses a spoiler in their thumbnail. You know what I mean? They'll say that, and then they'll have the scene in the picture that you can't avoid. They are.
I still don't know what about that scene. So it's still the verdict's up, whether or not so and so a certain somebody takes an axe or not.
Is this okay? Spoilers for a 30-year-old game. Is the scene, Aerith? Is that what you're talking about?
Probably,
Okay.
probably, yeah. So I
So,
didn't pay too much attention, so I still don't know if that happens,
okay.
but I just know 'cause, I did not play it today. I was gonna play it today, but I fell asleep and
Wow.
took a nap after I ate my hibachi, so I had a very healthy evening. But, I,
Nice.
last night when I got done playing, I had just made it to Costa del Sol. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay. So,
Um
I guess first things first, how is it as far as a retelling of Final Fantasy VII? Are you enjoying it? Like, is it pretty faithful so far, or is it just
So
totally
I'll
different?
say this, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, you know that the first time I played it, it didn't hit for me. I
Yeah.
couldn't get through 7 Remake. I didn't like it that much. And then I streamed it and I liked it a lot better.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I still had the consensus. I preferred the original.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all with this. I
Oh, really?
think Final Fantasy VII Remake was like a demo, and they finally have perfected
Uh,
everything that I didn't perfected. There's still a few things that it's not a perfect game, obviously, but everything I didn't like about 7 Remake is so much better in this game.
mm. That's
So
interesting because all I've heard is people talking about how bad it is.
Rebirth.
Yeah, that's all I've heard.
W- are you being
I'm
sarcastic?
totally I'm totally messing with you. I just wanted to see
Oh,
where
I
totally
was
wanted
like, are you kidding me? I've
your
not
look
heard a
of
single.
actual stunned silence
It's like
just
I
to
was about to say, I actually have one major complaint with this game that I think I've not heard anyone. I'm baffled I've heard no one talk about, but I'll get
uh
to that in a minute.
is
But,
it something that's gonna spoil anything for me? Because I
no,
wanna keep this as
it's super
spoiler-free as possible.
it's a gameplay thing that I hate. I think it's just objectively bad, but it's not, like, hindering your enjoyment of the game bad. It's
It's
just
one of those things
annoying.
that I'm gonna not have a problem with.
No, you might. I
Okay.
think you definitely will because it's something to do with the open world, and I know how you get a little annoyed with open world
I
stuff.
sometimes do get really
Yeah.
annoyed with open
I think you'll hate it too, this part. I was going to
okay.
say it, why not? But I think when a game is open world, it needs a jump button, and
There's no jump button?
there's no jump button, and it has the same approach that it had with Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you have to sprint into something like a rock to jump
Uh,
down it. Well, that
yeah,
is so finicky and awkward, I can't stand it,
sure.
because the terrain is so uneven, it's unsure what you can actually jump down, and when you do actually jump down it,
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's like it feels like you're breaking the game. Like, Cloud will jump, the camera won't go with him, he'll drop like a rock, and then the camera will suddenly go to him.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, it feels like
Okay.
you're breaking the game. It does not feel nice to do that, but with that being said, that is and, like, if you're running with your chocobo,
Yeah.
you can, like, stub your running on a dirt road and
The
stub
chocobo
your
can't jump
toe.
either?
No, no, not even, like, in 16,
Wow.
no. You're running with your chocobo, you, like, stub your toe on a brick on the dirt road and just stop, and it's like,
Can
so
I divert us for just a second with my own random complaint about Final Fantasy 16?
yeah.
It is with the jump, actually. I don't know why, of all the things they decided to ground in reality was Clive's just normal jump height, because when you're just walking around jumping, he can barely get off the ground.
It's so
And then,
funny.
you get into a fight and he leaps, like, into the air, he flies around, but when
Yeah.
he's running through, like, the wilderness or the hideout, he's like and I'm like, "Dude,
Well,
you
I
can't you
wish
it might as well not have a jump button because you can't jump over anything." He
yeah,
barely gets
at
off the
least
ground.
Ambrosia had a nasty jump and glide.
Oh, that's
Like,
pretty cool. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
miss I wish the chocobo controlled like that in this game, but I mean, that's just one complaint so
Yeah.
far.
Well,
As far as the way the story's being presented, like you asked,
yeah.
that I never answered, um, I just kept beating around it. I think they're doing it's pretty faithful so far. There obviously are some parts that are quite different.
It has to
Um,
diverge. I mean, we already diverged at the end. It has to be a little different. I mean,
but Junon,
just Zach being in this game has to change
yeah,
the narrative a little bit.
yeah. Junon was when I was playing this game, I was like, I'm liking it pretty good. It's like it's definitely catching me better than Remake did.
Oh, yeah,
But
Junon's
Junon,
before Costa de Sol. I had those
yeah,
mixed up. I forgot about
yeah.
that.
You get to Junon, and for me, it was just like, holy snot, this is good
Did you have
because
to do
I've
the
played for like
parade? Or was that is that later too
Yep.
on?
The
Okay.
parade does the exact same minigame that you did when you danced with Andrea in the last game.
Oh,
Yeah, so
cool.
it's that same minigame.
Do you have to save that girl from drowning? Is that
Yeah.
in this too? Wow, nice,
Well,
okay.
that girl oh,
Don't spoil anything.
I'm not gonna, you'll see.
Well, wait.
That's
Was that
slightly different.
was that girl somebody in the original one, or is it's that's different
It's
now?
a different person now.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
a different person now. Um,
Here's
definitely.
my other thing, I really wanna play this game, and now you're just making me wanna play it more. The problem is I know if I do get this game right now, I will not finish 16 for a very long time.
Here's what I say rip the bandage off 16 because 16 is a lot smaller of a game than 7 Remake
I mean, I've been
or
playing it
Rebirth.
consistently, I'm just
Yeah.
not done with it. Like, right now, I've had the Bahamut fight.
Oh, you're
Um,
getting pretty close. That's like the last major, well, no, there's one more major if
the
fight
Bahamut
before
fight
the
was
final boss.
cool. At first, I was like, "Why are we even fight?" Because they kinda, like, have the fight and then back up and tell you what happened. Because he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna"
Yeah,
spoilers for Final
I
Fantasy
like that.
16. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna help you," and then, like, the next scene is like, "I'm murdering the city," and I'm
Yeah,
like, "What's happening?"
I thought that
Well,
was cool.
getting to though where, like, every time I do a main story quest, it's like a million side quests, and I'm like, "Okay, I gotta go help this dude make bread again or something."
Uh,
So
that brings me to something is like 7 Rebirth, it goes
mhm,
nuts with the optional stuff. I've seen people
I've
who have
heard.
15 hours logged, and,
Uh,
someone said they had 6 hours logged, and they had just stepped out of Calm.
wow.
That is
I
just
did
the
hear
Nibelheim flashback in Calm.
I saw an article that just said, "Stop, like, getting yourself too lost in the open world of
That's
Final Fantasy
exactly
VII."
what I'm
Yeah,
saying. I do enough side stuff right now to feel I'm not doing my 15 approach where I felt like I was doing everything before I moved on with
yeah,
the story. I do enough to fulfill like I feel like I'm decently strong of and the side quests are
sure.
fun. Final Fantasy and Square Enix have taken a long time to perfect their side quests, and I feel like every single side quest I have done has been interesting.
Okay, that's good because I my one of my complaints with 16 is that some of the side quests have been very boring.
And every single side quest I've done has involved fighting
Okay. I mean,
or
is it an
a
interesting
minigame.
story at least or something? Because some of the
Yeah,
ones in
I think
16 are,
so.
like, literally they're just boring. Like,
And
some
so
of them are
far,
just boring.
all of them, almost a lot of them have included characters from 7 Remake. They're all
Sure.
coming they've all come back, like all the new ones. Like that weird
Okay.
Kyrie, merc chick who's pretending to be a merc, those hilarious bandits.
What about the reporter? I remember the reporter.
I haven't seen her yet, but
Haven't
she's
seen her
probably
yet?
there.
I'm sure.
No.
What about the old lady? What was her name?
I know who you're talking
She
about, but
ended
I
up being, like, somebody's secret, like, oh, man, what did they call her? I think she was. She had, like, a she looked like an old lady, but she was actually, like, this mastermind thief or something like that. I can't
I
remember
don't
the
know.
full details. Man, what was
Uh,
it?
but it's so cool to see characters come back, like the biker dude that they introduced with that fight with Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
he
he was
had a
vastly
major
underused in Remake.
he has a major plot point in Junon,
Okay.
like because he's part of the parade you're competing with. So,
I'm gonna have to just buy this game. The problem
yeah,
is I
oh god,
really wanna finish 16, but I think that 7 Remake hurt me in this regard with 16 because I felt the need to do every side quest, but with 7 Remake, there were, like, 18 side quests, period. Like, there
yeah,
were not that many. So, I kinda went into 16 with the same, "Oh, look, you just do them as you go. It's 1, 2, 3." But now they're, like, opening up. I'm like, "Okay, there's a lot." And I've been trying
mhm,
to keep up with the hunt boards and things like that, and it's just going kinda slow.
and I'll say, man, it's like with when you get into this, 7 Remake feels like a demo to 7
And I
Rebirth.
loved 7 Remake.
Yeah, and I liked it a lot too. I rank it very highly now, especially the streaming experience made it so much better.
Yeah.
But the, oh my gosh, it's just like and they pulled the 16 thing where you open up 16 with the flashback with Clive. A
Mm-mm.
very, like, I'm grabbing you part. Nibelheim, that was some of the best video gaming I've ever
Do
done.
they just open straight into the memory then? I wondered
No,
if they
there is
okay.
a scene that they do at
Okay.
first, and I'm not gonna say
But they
what it
don't
is.
just plop you outside of Midgar and say, "Walk over to Calm now."
Okay, here's exactly how it happens. The game starts with it, like, at the end of Rebirth.
I figured it would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, you do something
Or
there,
Remake, at the end of Remake.
crazy no, Rebirth.
Oh, it starts at
Yeah.
the end and then kinda
No, I
backs
don't know
up?
if it starts at the end of Rebirth, but it starts really far into the game with something crazy happening, and
Okay.
you doing something, playing as a certain someone right at the beginning before you as soon as you hit start, you do that,
Okay.
and then it goes back to, a scene where they're all driving from Midgar, and they're talking to Cloud. "Alright, how do you know Sephiroth?" And he starts
Oh.
telling the story of how he knows Sephiroth.
Oh, so he tells it on the road. Okay.
And then they get to a hotel room, and that's where he tells it all.
I gotcha.
Yeah, hotel room in Calm, yeah, and he tells
Sure.
the whole story, him and, um, Tifa, and
I know you're not finished, but do you know about where the game ends as far as the
I'm
7 narrative?
assuming it ends
You
at,
still don't know, okay.
where Aerith
The scene.
supposedly dies.
The scene.
Um, the scene, I'm assuming I feel like that's the only place it could end. Now, I will say every box art I've seen makes it, uh, seem like we get every party member in this game.
Yeah, I can't I was thinking the same thing because I saw Sid, I saw Kate Sid.
Vincent,
Who's the last one you get? Is it Sid?
think so.
Is Sid
Him or
last?
Vincent.
No, Vincent's not last because Vincent you get first he's optional, but he's definitely
Well,
before Rocket Town.
listen, this game has a new system where you can have, like, party loadouts. So when you're in the open world, you can just, like, hit, triangle and, a square or X, that's the button that brings up the menu, and then hit R2 and switch your party loadout. You can have 3 loadouts at a time.
Okay,
So you don't really I still do main party. Right now, I think,
sure.
with all the characters I had, I was running my original OG7 party, which was Cloud, Red, and Barrett.
Okay. Can you play
I
as
do
everybody this time?
Yeah, you can play as everybody.
Okay.
I don't like how Red 13 plays, sadly, that much.
Really?
He has a really bad range, but he has a cool mechanic where he has a block and dodge mechanic. You have to be really good at blocking and dodging,
Mm.
which I'm not.
I'm really good at
So,
blocking in 16
yeah, with
just
the ring.
because I'm using that ring. It's
Yeah,
so great. When I realized I don't mean to keep getting off topic, but you know the ring, it'll, like, pause and you can hit circle to dodge? You know, it's, like,
yeah.
gives you, like, just a little bit of a second to do it. I realized way too late that I could actually just while it's doing that, I could trigger the Titan counterattack instead of dodging. It's
Yeah,
like, I'll just do that instead, and now I'm
yeah,
just, like, kicking
that's an
butt.
awesome move too. But Red and his range is just not good. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking about subbing him out right now for Aerith.
I'd probably just let him run
Um,
computer then, 'cause I just love Red 13.
yeah, maybe that's what I'm doing right now too, honestly. It's
Oh,
just I like the way Aerith plays. Barrett is super glued to my party. I love that character. I love the way he plays in Remake and Rebirth.
sure.
He's not going in. He's like my mage. He just sits
I'll
back there, just
I'll be 100% honest, it feels wrong to me to not play Cloud.
oh,
So
I
even
won't. I
even in Remake, I barely switched characters. Like,
I
when
didn't
Cloud
know.
died, I switched.
I didn't know that. Oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. The only time I switch off of Cloud is like when I need to build up someone else's ATB.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, I just feels weird not controlling Cloud mainly.
Yeah. Well, he also feels the best to play, just flat
Sure,
out.
I think they do that on
Yeah.
purpose.
And they changed the Punisher a little bit. It has a little
Okay.
bit different animations, and it looks a whole lot cooler.
Did they address your major issue with, things getting hit animations? Because I know that was your biggest complaint
Okay,
from
so no, but the game is designed around it a lot better. So
okay,
far, there has been one boss that has annoyed me like crazy. Um, and it's a really cool scene, but that's kind of a spoiler because it's a little different, so I'm not going to say it.
okay.
But that boss annoyed me slightly, and uh, it is what it is. But like last night, I did a boss that was honestly like jaw dropping. Like I didn't expect to fight what I fought, and it was jaw dropping, like amazing. And it was really hard. But unlike I felt like a lot of the bosses in Seven Remake felt unfair and just grindy. This boss
Hell House
was
definitely did. I felt
yeah,
like that guy just took
that's
forever.
exactly what I was thinking when
Hell
I
House
said
felt
that.
s and then the other one that bugged me was just and it wasn't so hard, it was just annoying and tedious, was I think it's in the train graveyard. There's, like, a ghost you fight in the office that would just keep moving to the other side of the room and then doing, like, a wind thing, and I was
Oh,
always like,
yeah,
oh, just stand
yeah.
still."
I hate
Yeah.
that. And this boss wasn't long. I took his HP down quick, but he was taking my HP down really quick too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like I had to keep healing. It just felt I felt like engaged,
Is it
right?
harder than 16? Because 16's been relatively easy so far.
16 is one of the easiest Final Fantasy games I ever
I
played.
actually you kinda told me I beat the super boss already at, like, level
Yeah,
32, and I looked it up. It is the highest level hunt. I
yeah,
was like,
that's the
"How did
hardest boss.
I was wondering why I got such good stuff for beating it. But
Yeah.
yeah, one time, I mean, it used all my items and it did come down to the wires. It was the most engaging fight I'd had, but I shouldn't have been able to beat that at
I
level
think
30.
I think the DLCs because like I heard that the Leviathan DLC is gonna add like 9 hours of gameplay to
Oh,
it.
wow, really?
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
gonna have, like, probably the equivalent of a super boss in it,
sure,
I'd
sure.
assume.
Well, I'm surprised
But
there was no trophy or for that, to be
yeah,
honest.
dude, it feels like that aspect of the game is incomplete.
With 16?
Yeah,
Or
with a
okay,
super
yeah.
boss. Yeah, with some kind of
Yeah, it
fulfilling
did because
in-game
you
super
told me that,
boss.
I was like, "There's no way that's the super boss."
That's the fun part because
Yeah,
the
but
only thing that keeps you playing these single player games after completion is some big super boss
yeah.
or completion.
They don't excite me like they used to, though, and I don't know why, but,
Mhm.
like, the concept of a super boss in the PlayStation era of 7, 8, and 9, I that was like I don't know, there was just something about you go, under the water and you see Emerald Weapon kind of floating around, you're like, "Oh, what is
7
that?"
perfected it.
But I just don't care as much in the more
Yeah, dude.
recent year like 13, I never bothered hunting it down. Couldn't even tell you who it is in 15. 16, apparently, I stumbled across it on accident. I don't
7
know.
perfected it because there are things you see in the world the whole game.
And maybe that's it. Maybe it's the
Yeah,
loss of that overworld that
the
makes
the
me
legend
care.
of it. It
Yeah.
15 kinda had it whenever that giant mountain in the middle randomly
Was it
became a
the
turtle.
turtle? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know if that was the sag I think it was actually. I think it was the hardest thing to kill. 15 is one of the cases that had, like, multiple
I
blah, blah,
think
blah,
the other
whatever.
thing for me is recently too they've moved them from these things in the world to either the equivalents of hunts or in 7 remake they were just what were they?
Oh,
Chan what's his name? Chandley?
Chadley? Oh
Chadley.
my did
They
you
were
hold
just
on, let me ask you, did you not like Chadley in 7 Remake? Did you
I
find him a
didn't
little annoying and
I found him
weird?
a little annoying, yeah, but I
Well,
didn't
guess
really
what?
bother I know he's back.
Oh god, not only is he back,
Is he
he
worse?
doesn't shut up.
Oh, yeah, he was really, like, pompous. Yeah, I do remember him
He's
now.
the center of everything in the you do in the open
Well,
world.
he
Eh,
was the center of a lot of stuff in the first one too.
there's this really cool stuff you can do where you find, life springs of, like,
Yeah.
poking out of the world, and he gives you a tool and you scan things to get him intel. Well,
Okay.
he'll talk to you like that. He'll call you and start talking to you almost every time you do it. His voice comes from the controller.
Oh, cool. I love when stuff like that
Dude,
happens.
and
I love that.
half the time you do that because the music that plays at some of these things because there's also 3 things in every area for the
Yeah.
summon of the area. You find them, you scan them, you do the mini game, and if you do that, because you can find them in the simulator to get the summon, but if you find all 3 of the things, you can choose to fight a very weakened version of it because it's really hard.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do that and then fight the weakened version, but he starts talking to you, and you have to put it up to your ear like a phone because the music's so
Mhm.
loud you can't hear it.
Yeah,
So
I've got another game that did that. It's one of the coolest things. I like it. And I like there's some things in 14 like when your mount's walking and the controller will vibrate and I think sometimes your mounts will like have a noise that comes out of the controller. I
yeah,
love that.
that stuff's cool, it's
I
cool.
love that stuff.
He talks all the time, and he's always like, "I'm surprised to see you made it to Junon," and I'm like, "Shut up,
Yeah.
you little
But
idiot."
yeah, but so back to that like a lot of the more recent games have moved them into that, like, it's a fight simulator, or, I mean, if you think about even starting in 10, a lot of the harder bosses are part of what, the monster arena or
Yeah.
whatever, and then 12, I think, had a similar or it was hunts, they were
Yeah.
part of the hunts, which, okay.
Something about having them in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's just that lack of an overworld that we haven't really had since 9. I mean,
Yeah.
has there
I
been an overworld since 9?
No, and I think that and 7 Rebirth is recreated the overworld in a really good way, but it
Yeah.
definitely still has that modern RPG, setup with
Sure.
side quests and hunts and,
Sure, sure.
um, nodes. Literally, this game is every open world game is Breath of the Wild now. You're looking for towers, you're unlocking the towers, you're looking for points of interest. It's fun. I love that formula, but it's getting overdone. I think this game does it really well though.
There's 2 problems I have with modern gaming, and it's open world stuff like that, and hear me out before everybody starts riding me. It's open world stuff like that and just these games as a service. But the thing is they just keep coming out. So what ends up happening is you don't have time for any of them. You used to be able to get a game, play a game, get a game, play a game. But now it seems like every game they sell you is designed to keep you engaged for like 300 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, who has time for this? Because honestly, I love Diablo, but even in season 3, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have time to finish the battle pass, right? Because there's all these other things coming out. And then you look at these open world games that are literally designed to just keep you exploring and playing that game for as long as possible. That like I feel like we're getting funneled into fewer over the top large scale adventures instead of these just smaller bite-sized adventures we used to have. And maybe that's my
And
boomer
that's
talking. I don't know.
And that's no, I think you're valid, because I definitely, for a long time, loved open world games that I could play, and, like, 15 is the gateway drug of that for me, because I
Sure.
loved getting lost in that world instead of moving on, but I think I'm finally hitting some burnout, because my favorite parts of 7 Rebirth are the main quests when you're going through the
Yeah.
story, instead of because again, traversing the open world is honestly kind of annoying the way you move
Sure.
around. And maybe it's just me. Hopefully, it's something they're fixing. I don't know, but I feel like I'm just glitching all over the place, which is not
Well,
actual glitching. It just feels like it.
and that's the thing I guess I'm getting at, because if you look at classic Final Fantasy, you could pretty much I mean, you could spend a lot of time in there, but you could even doing a bunch of the side quests, getting your ultimate weapons, you could still devour those games in 70 hours, right?
Yeah.
But anymore, the base game is there, especially if it's an open world game, and then they always try to sell more DLC and keep it going, and they want these games to have life
Oh
cycles that last
yeah.
4 or 5 years, and, I have and this is just me, I have MMOs for that. That's what I play 14 for, that type of content. I don't want to just keep playing the same game for the rest of my life.
Me neither.
Like, you know what
And
I mean?
that's why I
Like
took on the approach of just doing enough side quests to make myself feel fulfilled. At
yeah,
least for sure doing finding the 3 summon nodes and getting the summon. Because those
yeah.
fights are crazy engaging.
And I love
But
doing everything in these big games, but I really once it starts pushing that 70, 80-hour mark, I start to get
mhm.
the slog starts to set in. And
Yeah,
maybe it's just me being old, I've got more time commitments. I don't have the time to game that I used to. And the other thing, going back to like overworld versus current, and I think you hit on it for me because I never had a problem with overworlds. Actually, I love them. The thing I
I love
love
them too.
most about some of those old Final Fantasy games is their overworld. That's why I've got hand-drawn maps I pick up at the Renaissance Fair on my wall. But I don't like the open world stuff they're doing today, and I think it's speed of travel. Because when the overworld, you could cover that whole I mean, you could fly from one end to the other in 90 seconds, you
Yeah.
know? You could get where you were going, but still have that sense of adventure. Whereas with a bunch of the open worlds, if you're talking about like Skyrim or something like that, it's like, sure, they have fast travel, or even with 16, it's like, okay, I got to fast travel to this point, and then I have to run out to wherever the hunt is. It takes me longer to run from the either point to the hunt location than it did for me to fly from Midgar to Cosmo Canyon, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. The scale is totally different. But I mean, I guess I kind of like the small world feel of the old
I
overworlds. Does that
I
make sense, or am I just talking
really
randomness here?
no, I feel the same way. I really no, I don't not like the other approach, but I do miss games that have
Yeah.
overworlds like that. Like, I really Sea of Stars, did I say that right? Yeah, Sea of Stars kinda had
Mhm.
it hit a Chrono Trigger overworld.
Okay.
Um, so I that was refreshing to see.
I haven't played Chrono
But
Trigger in so long.
dude, I still have never played beaten Chrono Trigger. I got
I've
to
never
Frog,
beaten
and
it. I never
I got to
yeah,
Frog, and my save file deleted.
I quit very shortly after Frog 2, actually. There must
I
be something that
remember
happens around there.
I remember loving it, like, being super
Mhm.
engaged in it, though, so I
I
need
have
to
it on
go
my
back,
phone.
but, um yeah, no, I definitely missed that. I think 16 did it really well when they went 14's approach, the zones, open zone
Yeah,
thing. Now,
yeah.
I do think, 'cause you'll step 1 foot out of Calm and your jaw will hit the ground, like, it's like, this is your childhood fully imagined.
That, though, I think is gonna help me like it more because it's
Yeah,
nostalgic. Because if
yeah,
I had no ties to this, I would probably find it annoying. Because I've
yeah,
never
you're
played an
going to
open world game that, like, just really sucked me in like that.
I've seen so
So
many
weird.
tweets of people being like, "I tapped my wife on the shoulder and told her this is what I saw in 1997."
Oh, yeah,
It's like, "This is what my little kid mind saw when I looked at
yeah.
that giant green plane."
And I think
It's
that
like,
helps. I think it definitely
yes,
helps.
and it helped with me too because it was really cool, especially when I got to June on, and you got to that part where the parade actually happens on that long street,
Mhm.
and you can see it, like, exactly like it was in the PS1 game, reimagined,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's the same layout, it's the same, and it
I
felt
had
cool.
there were some moments in Remake for me like that, even though they redesigned a bunch of the city, so,
Yeah.
like, there are a whole section of that city, but, like, when you go out into Aerith's house for the first
Yeah.
time, you know, that was awesome, and then parts of the train graveyard, I was like, "Oh, I remember this."
Super cool, dude. I will say the best thing about 7 Remake is that you're not fighting soldiers and robots the
Sure.
whole game. Holy
I
crap.
I think yeah, I think focusing the whole game of Remake on Midgar was necessary,
Mhm.
but also Midgar's the worst part of Final Fantasy VII. There, I just
Yeah.
said it.
It
I
is.
don't know if it's a popular opinion, but it is the worst part of Final Fantasy VII. Not to say it's bad, but playing through Midgar has stopped me from replaying that game once or twice. Like
Yeah.
I've replayed the game 3 or 4 times, but I've been like, "Oh, I want to play Final." I just don't feel like dealing with Midgar. That is just
Yeah.
the worst part of that game. And at first, I was kind of surprised they chose to end it at Midgar until I saw what they did with it. And now
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that was 'cause they took, like, 10% of the game and made it a 40-hour game, right?
Yeah.
I still think it was probably necessary to just to get it out of the way.
Yeah, and I again, I thought it was a great game. I thought everything that happened in it was great. It just felt the locales felt too samey for a
They
40-hour
were.
journey.
They
Yeah,
were.
it got a little exhausting. But now it's like even going from the grasslands to the Junon region is
Mhm.
just completely different. And now I'm at Costa del Sol and it's like, oh, and there is a brand new card game in this game.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
an
and the
actual card
same
game you can play around and
Yep, you play it it's Final Fantasy VIII, just like it. You play it with NPCs that you can play it with. They'll have little things on their heads called Queen's Blood.
well,
Um,
this is official, I will never beat this game.
I ignored it for a while because I was like,
You ignore
"I'll
the
learn."
card games anyway.
Well, but then I pulled a Final Fantasy IX when you get on the boat to Costa del Sol. I'm like, "There is
Ah,
a
right.
card game tournament." I'm like, "God, I did
Of
not win.
course. Yeah,
I
'cause
didn't win."
you've ignored it up until then.
I beat the first 2. I learned it and beat the
Mhm.
first 2 rounds, but then the
Do you
3rd
pick up
round,
cards by playing, though? Because that was the problem with 9, is if you
you
didn't
don't do that in Queen's Blood though.
okay, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't buy booster packs from the thing, and they were
Mm.
like the 3rd round had decks that, had been made, and I was like, I'm not gonna play this. I'm gonna do side quests for this after this, but I'm not gonna play it enough to, like, sit down and make it." So I just lost to him and moved on, but one of the funniest scenes in Final Fantasy history happens on that boat with Red 13. He is so mad that they won't let him participate in the Queen's Blood tournament because he's a dog. And then he ends up dressing up in a soldier outfit and standing up on 2 like a
Well
human, and he's walking around like this, going because
well,
he can't.
I mean, that isn't that a reference? He does that in Final Fantasy VII too. I can't
Well,
and isn't it there? Because they're on a soldier transport ship when you do it, because everybody's
yeah,
dressed up in costume. Is
that's
that
it.
the same scene?
That's it, but there's a Queen's Blood tournament this time with it, and
Sure,
it's all
sure.
really lighthearted.
Because at that
Um
point, Barrett's dressed up like a white sailor outfit, right?
Yes! Dude, he
Yeah.
looked good in that thing too.
Okay, so it's the same scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you find Red 13 and he's just kinda shuffling back and forth.
Yeah, but they did that with this now, and he dressed up so he could be in the tournament. That's the reason he did it this time, and
Okay.
he looked like that, Powerline from the Goofy movie. That's
Oh
what he
my
looks like.
god, that's
Yeah, he
hilarious.
looked exactly like Powerline from the Goofy movie,
Powerline.
and you play him. It's like I lost in the 3rd round, and then he came out of nowhere and was challenging the random NPC they made for the Queen's Blood
Oh,
arc.
does Red 13 win the tournament if you don't?
No, he
Oh,
challenges
okay.
her, and then she's like, "No, you gotta beat him first," and then I whooped him, like, he sucked.
Ah,
Like, I beat
okay.
him easier than I beat Tifa,
That's
but,
sad.
I beat and then he of course, I was like, "How'd you get so good at this?" Dude, Red 13 is hilarious in this game.
He's my favorite character.
Dude,
So
because every time you go to a city, he just has kids swarmed around him, and he's like, "I hate this."
so who have you picked? Have you picked up anybody besides the 5 yet? Then do you have Yuffie or
Very close
okay,
to having Yuffie.
okay.
She's been
Did you
around,
did you ever play
but
Intergrade?
no. And
Dude,
she had some kind of flashback thing, and I was like, "I need to ask Wolfkins what happened in Intergrade because I
yeah,
forgot to play
some
it before this
crazy
came out.
stuff.
I forgot to play Intergrade."
There was a fight in Intergrade that was harder than the entirety of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh god.
For me, it
Oh
took like
lord,
it
that
was
game
the
was already
only
hard
time like
enough.
I beat my head against the wall like 5 times on that boss. It was the final boss for her
Also,
section, but
did did Cloud have a unique attacking animation if you started attacking after a dodge in 7 Remake? Because in
thought
7
so.
Rebirth, if you dodge and you start attacking, you shoot out little, like, green beams from your blade and becomes ranged.
I don't remember that.
That makes these fights so much easier because if you have to dodge away and you just can keep attacking and just shoot them.
Look, I'm happy they got this, but you saying that just think of how cool an action RPG update of Final Fantasy VIII would be with the Gunblade. Dude, that would be so dope. They gotta give me this. All right?
Again, I think 8 needs a remake more than any other Final
They've
Fantasy game.
gotta give me this.
I think 8 needs a remake
Mm.
to clean up a little bit of the cheesy dialogue with some of the characters.
That game would look
Make
so I think most of that cheesy dialogue came from translation errors.
It was also a product of its time because Zell is just Sonic the
Sure.
Hedgehog. Like, which is why
Sure.
I love him so much,
Sure.
but, like, and they need to, like, add a little bit if they
Mm.
added backstory to Selphie and made it feel a little less like she was just hanging out.
I like the campiness. Like, Selphie has a backstory. You have the whole thing where you go to Trebia Garden, or I mean, it gets destroyed. You
Y
have that whole thing. It gets
yeah, they
bombed.
after that, she's just like I don't know, she just never adds anything. And, it's the game direction's fault because they never really let anyone have spotlight but the
That's the
Swallow and
tip. I
Roa.
mean, it's a love story.
Yeah, it
It's got
is,
2
but
main characters and 4
you gotta think
secondary
you gotta
characters.
think about how 7 Remake made you feel ways about Jesse that you never thought you would feel. I want
Yeah,
them
I
to do
mean,
that with Selphie.
sure. Now
Yeah,
that I would love to see in a
yeah.
remake because comparing it that way, yeah, because there's even characters in Final Fantasy VII I could take or leave. Like, let's see. I mean, they all,
Kate
I
Sith.
guess, they all, yeah, but even he kind of ties back into once you find out who's
Oh,
behind
dude,
him.
his big twist at the end of 7 was so cool.
That
I'm
one was cool.
definitely using Kate Sith when I get him in this
I
game.
hate that character though.
I love him, he's so
I hate
cool.
that
He's so
character.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody in 7 really does. Well, there are some you can leave out and not really lose the main narrative. Like, I love him, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I guess if you didn't really get more backstory on Sid, you could still really it wouldn't change too much,
Yeah.
you know? Vincent adds a lot of stuff just because he's more directly connected to Hojo and Sephiroth that you find out. Um, you know what I wanna go back and play Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with Vincent in the remake and Rebirth.
Yeah. Isn't Matt Mercer voicing him?
Oh,
Isn't that what you
yeah.
told me? Yeah.
They did a
Oh,
good job
man.
with that.
Oh, yeah, I wanna play it, but I haven't yet. So far, though, you're liking it. Seems like we've got a positive
No,
review
I'm
of
loving
the
it.
first little bit. Okay.
I think we are experiencing right now the game of the year easily. It is reviewing like a game of the year.
Yeah,
9s
I've
out of
seen
10s
that.
everywhere, some 10s out of 10s. Um, is so far a lot of it's way better received than 7 Remake in reviews, which is reviews don't matter, but, um, it's amazing. It is super duper duper good, and I
Is
love it.
the battle system still similar to Remake? Kinda that
It's
blend?
it's the exact same thing.
Okay. I liked the battle
Plus more,
systems.
plus again, it's like it's the same thing, but better. They
Okay.
perfected the formula. Because 7 Remake, it just felt some of the things felt a little unfair. It felt just grindy, and everything felt too tanky. In this game, everything
Mm,
feels achievable. Um, they have new materia called like lightning and wind materia that casts
okay.
like two like fire and ice materia that casts fire and blizzard at once. I think that's really cool.
Cool. I'm
Yeah,
assuming you start over at level 1. I'm assuming
15.
no matter you start at 15?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting way
Which
to
was
do it.
confusing because in the flashback, you're 40. And I was like, "God, they're starting this game at 40?" And then somehow
Yeah.
Cloud is a lower level than he was when he was a recruit currently, so
Yeah, because he lost all his memories.
so and I guess if we weren't actually playing as Cloud.
Oh, I bet yeah, you're right. You're right, 'cause he you were playing as Zach,
Zach.
right?
So why I
Ah,
see, that's the story thing I'm interested to see because I don't remember it, and I know why. No, no, that's what I don't know. I know that that's the way it is. I just don't know why. Like Cloud remembers Zach's memories there, and Tifa's just randomly went to bed that night. And she's like, I don't remember Cloud being there. Why didn't she peek up and say that?
so that was always so did she say that in
Yeah,
Rebirth?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That was always something that I wondered about, and there's been some articles, that came out, and none of the answers really were satisfying for me, but it was like, I guess it's how would you feel, put yourself in Tifa's position. This guy shows up that and then he starts telling you these intimate details of a story which he wasn't there for, but knows things he shouldn't, and so then there's the thing, like, she's confused. She doesn't know she's questioning her own memories of it because he knows things he shouldn't, but she doesn't remember him
yeah.
being there. So it's like,
She
okay,
just brought it up. She just brought it up to Aerith in one on one though.
see, that's good though. I
Yeah,
think they should address
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, that's good.
You should play. You should play a Crisis Core
Crisis Core. I
because it
figured.
gives you a little bit more of that. Because Cloud comes in, I'd say the second half of that game, or maybe even closer to the last fourth. And, towards the end, you get to the scene where it's him and Zach going through all that stuff, and they do a lot of crazy stuff to them and their experiments and stuff. And it's basically just, he absorbed those stories, and he winds up with the Buster Sword based on, how Zach goes out saving him. So basically, he's coming back to himself after a long recovery. He's got all these memories in his head, but he's got the sword that was in all those stories. So he kind of just attributes it to himself, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but it is interesting, and I do think that Rebirth could do a really good job to clarify because 7 itself doesn't clarify that enough for me.
Yeah.
It's the
Having
most
Tifa be
confusing
there
part of the
makes it
game.
having Tifa be there hurts it in 7 original.
Without further explanation, it does.
Yeah.
It
In this one, it
does.
feels like they're gonna do a lot better, but I definitely remember being like, "Wait, what?" And I hope it's a lot more clear. So, another question, the whole point of this game, when they left Midgar, right? Remind me, at the end of 7 Remake, they're like, "We need to go find Sephiroth. He's gonna destroy the world."
I
And that's the
think
whole thing when
so.
they go to Calm and out, they're going to look for Sephiroth.
Can't really remember because you fight Sephiroth, and I
In
think
7
Cloud
Remake, yeah.
knows that he didn't, like, destroy him for good. They know they can't go back. I kind of remember it just being like, "We have no place to go but forward." So I don't
Yeah.
know if they had, like, any particular goal
So,
when they left.
their goal is looking for Sephiroth, and
Okay,
their
makes
lead in
sense.
Rebirth is to follow these, like, dudes in robes that they can't speak, they're just walking in a
Sure.
certain direction, and they're like, and they're just walking.
Yeah, those were in 7. Those were
Oh,
the
were they?
Oh, yeah, you
I'd
don't
see
remember that time
I
you go to Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're all over 7, especially when you go like, right around when you get Vincent, when you go back to Nibelheim, they're everywhere because they're gathering on that location for the reunion, and the whole
See, I
town's overrun with them.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
There's
that's part of
and
7.
it's been a long time since I played 7 though, so, yeah, so that's from the original though.
'Cause
That's not a
they have, like, Genova cells in them too, which is what's drawing them to that.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because
that's original canon.
okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
Oh god, you're making me and they were those were in Remake too. You ran into one of them, I think,
Yeah, I remember that,
like, in your
yeah.
hotel room or something. Or was
Yeah.
that one of the wraiths? Are those things back?
No,
Oh, so we've
they're
actually
gone.
dealt with those, I guess.
No, you accepted fate.
No, we
You
didn't. We
no,
flipped
you
Fate the
defied fate.
bird. Yeah.
You defied
We
fate. So
flipped Fate the
they
bird and then
they effed
jump.
off. They effed off. You defied fate, and they're like, "Fine, whatever. We won't try to keep you on track then."
Yeah. So do you think, now that you played a little bit more, do you think this is a sequel? Or do you actually think it's a like a retelling? Like, what are your thoughts
It's
here?
definitely a retelling because events are happening in the same order and they're happening the same way. There are details so far that are not the same.
But that
Um,
a
things
retelling
dominoes are definitely falling in different areas.
but what I mean is a retelling wouldn't have the need for those fate type characters to try to push you on a path.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do you think this ties into the original Final Fantasy VII in some way by the end of the trilogy?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Did you
I don't think there'd be any point to even introducing the idea of differences if you weren't gonna do that.
that's what I'm kinda getting at.
Yeah.
Did you see, by the way, that Sony nailed down, console exclusivity for the whole trilogy? I just
No,
saw that
good
earlier
though.
today, yeah, so
Good for them.
at least
Well,
the
it sounds like
limited.
Xbox is looking to not make consoles anymore, so unless they want to put it on Switch.
Yeah, whatever's going this game Remake never even came to Switch, did it? I don't
We remake would not run on that thing.
I didn't think it would.
No, it would not. And now if they made a Switch 2, maybe, but it'd be weird to be like, "Hey, it's
Hmm.
2026. Here's the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Reunion, Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to Switch 2 at
Yeah.
a lower FPS than the PS4 version."
Yeah, from 4 years ago or 5 years ago, however long it is
Yeah,
at that point.
shoot
So,
lord.
I will get this game shortly, maybe within the month, but, you'll beat it before I buy it, likely, just because
I'm
I gotta
playing
wait
it a
for
lot slower than I played most games recently. Like Persona 3, I blew through.
yeah, that's
This
normally
one,
how you
I'm
blow through games.
and it's mostly because I can't stay awake when I get home. I've been taking a lot of naps lately. I don't know what gives with that, but I am definitely playing it a lot slower
That's
than
good.
normal.
Enjoy
It's
it,
it's it's
savor.
harder. It's right. It's harder to binge than most of the other games I played.
Hmm,
And the only reason 16's the same way. The only reason I could binge 16 is because it was summer. I wasn't working, and I could just
sure.
sit there and play for hours. This game is so action packed and has so much going on. It's almost hard to absorb it for more than 2 hours at a time.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's
I
almost
can see that.
hard. Like, I got to Costa del Sol, and I was like, "Oh, God, I'm
Yeah,
done. I'm done." And
yeah.
again, like I said, when I got to Junon, that's like a solid 2 hours of gameplay without a single battle. That was some of the
Oh,
best
yeah.
gameplay I've done in the game. That's how you know it's a good game. The mini games are nailed.
The mini games in the first one pretty fun, which
And
just makes me, like, super excited for the gold saucer.
yeah, and the way
Dude.
they do chocobos is different because you don't raise a chocobo anymore. You get a different chocobo every region.
Huh.
Um, so you have the basic chocobo in the grasslands, and in Junon you get the chocobo that can climb surfaces. And to unlock the chocobo, you have to play a full on like Metal Gear Solid
Mhm.
mini game where you sneak up on it, dodge other chocobos looking at you, and it's
I
really cool.
wonder how that's gonna play into chocobo racing, because the point of that was raising a good chocobo to win the races.
Well, it looks like they've completely remodeled it to be Mario Kart, so maybe they'll just have like different chocobos to pick
They
from.
should have just ported Chocobo Racing GP. Like, when you
Yeah,
sit down to you just play a round of that. They should have the whole game loaded.
yeah, that would be great. But
Awesome.
I'm excited for Gold Saucer because that's when I get my Kate Sith, and I'm subbing him in. I think I'm going to be running Cloud, Barrett, and Kate Sith
What a weird party.
at least until Vincent comes, and I'll
My
consider
f
putting Vincent in.
my favorite part, though, is when in the original Final Fantasy VII, when you get out of Midgar and they say, okay, we got to split up for some reason, meet up in Calm. How do you want to split the party? And if you pick Barrett and Red 13, and then Tifa and Aerith are over there, and they're both like, "Oh, well, this is an interesting lineup." They're both like super
I
shocked.
remember that because that's
I love it.
exactly how I split them up when I
They're
left.
both like, "Oh,
I had my
this is
I had my main
interesting."
party. I had my main party as soon as we left
I usually in
in the original.
the last couple times I've been playing it, I've been doing the original. I've been doing Cloud, Tifa, and Red 13
Mhm.
when we leave.
I
So
thought you did Sid one time.
when we leave Midgar,
Oh,
yeah.
you do Cloud, Sid, and Red
My
13
main
now,
party
right?
is Cloud, Sid, and Red 13. The
No,
last
I
time
mean,
or two,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna say, like, Barrett's one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters. He's my favorite in
yeah. I
7,
do
and I
too.
think he's my 3rd favorite Final Fantasy character overall.
I just love me a dragoon coated
Well,
character.
Barrett's so funny. Like
Sure.
there's a side quest in this game that I normally would have hated, where you have to deliver a message with a lady's dog to another town, and you have to
Okay.
travel on foot and just follow the dog, and it takes like 10 minutes, and you're just following this dog, and you're like, this is horrible, but you start off. And every side quest has you. There's a bonding relationship thing in this game where you get
Sure.
closer with your teammates.
There always
Um,
was in the original. It's just in the background because it
yeah, but it's
determined on who
very
you went on a date
yeah.
with.
It's very in the foreground now, and Barrett's talking to you for this one. So you're leaving, and you're delivering a message with the dog to the lady's son, um, and he says something like, "Man, I couldn't imagine just wanting to keep your kid and make them be your kid forever." And Cloud's like, "What?" And he goes, I mean, wouldn't you want them to grow up and be grown? I want to grow up and see Marlene soar. And then, like 3 more minutes of running, he goes, I'm gonna be able to do that, right, Cloud? And Cloud's like, sure, whatever. 3 more minutes, he goes, I'm the worst father ever. I can't watch her go. I love my Marlene. He's like, Barrett, she's 6. It's like 3 more minutes. He goes, yeah, she's still my angel, and she always will be. It's like, and you get there and you're delivering it to him, and she's pregnant, and he steps up and gives father advice, and he's like, "You're gonna
So
need to take this money."
I I'm glad they added stuff like that because one of my major complaints in Final Fantasy VII OG was Barrett's like the worst dad. Like he's like, "Hey Marlene,
Oh,
you stay with this stranger we just met. I'm gonna go and disappear for months. Okay? I
he
might
has
not be
to. The
back."
world's dying.
Sure.
He has to go
Sure.
save the world for her.
Uh-huh. He leaves her. I mean, I guess, she's nice, but he doesn't know Aerith's mom for like a day before he entrusts her with his 6-year-old daughter. No family, no like people he
Dude,
has connections with. He's like, you look like a decent lady.
there
Would you
is a
like another
certain
kid?
there is a certain charm Barrett has lost from the original where half of his dialogue was unreadable. I do miss
Oh
that.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was really
Well,
funny.
you just had to
But no,
guess which curse word it was.
Barrett's just the most endearing character in this game, like
Sure.
1,000%
Yeah,
because,
he is a good character.
um, yeah, you get to a mine or something, and uh, the mine after the whole "Did Sephiroth do this?" thing, and
Mhm.
he's
Oh, like
like,
right
"Merc,
after the
that sounds."
snake.
Yeah, he's like, "Merc, that sounds perfect for you." And he goes, 2,000 gil. And he's like, "Oh, what?" And then there comes a part later where they get separated and Barrett's on his own and you're controlling him and you run into them and he's like, "Hey, Barrett, can you drop that so we can get across?" And he goes, does a dumb little dance and Crouch still goes, 2,000 gil. It's like, he's so funny, dude. He's just what that
Oh
game
god.
needs.
Maybe I'll try to squirrel away $70 from our tax return or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not this
I
price is
need to
so steep.
Yeah, the game's been going up $10. Just for some reason in my head, 70's harder
Stupid.
to justify than 60. If this game was $50, I would have pre-ordered it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely worth $70, but that's
Yeah, I'm
still
sure it is,
saying
but
$70 is still a lot.
yeah. All right. Well, we are running long on time a little bit here, and the more you're talking, it's just making me want to play a game I don't have. So that
I think
makes me
that's a
kind
pretty
of
good
sad.
spoiler-free thoughts
I
so
think it
far, though.
was. I think it was a very
Yeah,
good spoiler-free, just kind of first impressions. So
very good game. You
thank you
should
for
get
that.
it. I
Well, and then,
love it.
do you have any final things you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would like more Final Fantasy remakes in this regard. I think Final Fantasy's got a good system set up where they could be releasing remakes alongside main title
Sure,
entries.
sure.
Um
I
so
I think the PS1 era needs a remake. All three of them. I think
I
that would
think
be awesome.
that would be a perfect. Maybe they just keep going on from 7. That would be pretty good.
I
Now,
don't even know if you.
I don't think
What?
they necessarily all need to be trilogies like 7 remake is.
I don't either. No,
8 maybe could 8 happen in 2 or 1 game?
I think so.
Um
I think
where
you
would
could do 8 and 9. I don't think 7 necessarily needed to be a trilogy. I mean, they really didn't need Midgar to be 40
I
hours.
think 7's a trilogy mostly because of the way they're wanting to set the story up.
I think 7's a trilogy mostly because they wanted to sell us 3 games.
That too. But the
But
way they're setting the story up too is like definitely the end of 7 remake sets up for a completely
sure.
different narrative.
It does,
So
it does.
and
But
I
it
think 7 Reunion will set up for a completely different ending, especially if Aerith lives.
yeah, yeah. I'm interested to see the Zach factor and just how that changes
Maybe he'll
everything.
come in and die instead. We've said that like every time we bring
That's
this
my
game up.
prediction. That's my prediction is that he still dies, but he dies saving
What if
her or
they kill
something like that.
Tifa?
That won't work for me.
Are you a Tifa or an Aerith? You're getting into the ship Twitter wars now that
It's
everybody
Tifa.
hates.
It's always been Tifa. Always been Tifa.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought you liked Aerith.
I mean, I do like Aerith, but Tifa's always been the one for Cloud.
I agree.
OTP,
I like
baby.
T
I
I like
mean,
T
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, especially the remake, like, Rebirth is really, really pushing it.
Well, even the original, I mean, it was always kind of, I mean, they were childhood friends. It always hinted that one, I think he might have kind of had a crush on her when they were younger. I mean, they're the ones that are just being put. I mean, they're the closest as a relationship. I mean, she's the one that's with him when he's going through his mental breakdown. It's him and her at the end, in the
Yeah,
cave or whatever. And then they're
yeah.
living together or at least it's kind of implied they're living together in Advent Children. So like I've never understood the ship war because Zach and Aerith, they were their love story. They were the ones for each other. And I think what attraction Aerith might have had to Cloud was what she saw reflected back from Zach. That's my
Mhm.
that's my thoughts on the matter. But they
Yeah.
they each have somebody. So I don't know why people want Cloud and Aerith together. Now I will say, I think the narrative is better when you go on a date with Aerith at the Gold Saucer. I do like
Really?
that. I do always try to make because it's just knowing what happens to her. It's just so sweet and sad and bittersweet to have that one night with her. So yeah, I do always try to get
I
Aerith
think it's
for
really
for the date.
sweet if you go on a date with Barrett.
Have you done it? It's pretty funny.
No, I've
I
seen it though.
I did it just for the trophy.
It's like, "Man, this is a little awkward."
Yeah.
He's like, "Why'd you ask me to come?"
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That game is so good.
So good. Well, I think that will be it. This was a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth heavy episode, so there'll probably be more of those in the future. Let's just be honest.
That's what we're going at.
So you go answer whoever's been texting you for the last 15 minutes. Looking
I'm not
off the
gonna answer him.
camera, dimming. Yeah.
I've just been looking. I'm not gonna answer.
All right. Well, do you? I think that'll bring this one to a close, man. You got anything else you want to say, or anything you want to plug?
Not really. Just stream as usual, and it's which has been very inactive this month with Persona 3 and 7 Rebirth. So
Sure. Um, I'm the opposite. I'm doing a little bit more than usual. I'm starting a brand new campaign Thursday nights at 9:30. It's a Dragonbane, so it's not the same system. It's a new system that we're doing. Psychic is in that one, but otherwise a whole new cast for this game. Still doing Kupo Quest. Just had episode 52 on Monday, so that's still going strong. If you want to check that out, and still
Yeah.
streaming a little bit of Magic. But yeah, we're ramping things up over at Wolfkin's Tabletop. So there you
Nice.
go. Anyway, I think that'll bring this one to a close. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You heard it here first. Don't buy
It
it.
is a
It
Highwind
sucks.
Herald. Is a Highwind Herald avoid. Do not play this game.
So, or do. You know what? We're not your dads. Do what you
Who
want.
cares? We
This
ain't your
is
dads. Who cares? Play it. It's good. It's really good.
awesome. Well, with that, I think we'll sign off for this one. We'll see you next week. And please, let us know what you're thinking. But please, if you reach out to us, keep it as spoiler free as possible. Because, like I said, I don't have this game yet. So this is going to be the opposite. Remember how like you wouldn't beat, um, yeah, we flip places because you wouldn't beat Stranger of
Stranger
Paradise
of
for like a
Paradise.
year.
Yeah. Oh God. This
Yeah.
is so much more than that though. It's like
I know, but
I didn't
still.
beat the edgy Final Fantasy One remake
Um,
with chaos. That was amazing. I'm not making fun of it. I am kind of making
still,
fun of. Well, the good thing about that game is that you can make fun of it.
I think it wants you to make fun of it.
It should.
I think that's the
If it
point.
didn't, that's sad.
I think it knows. It knows what it did. It knows.
It has to though. All right, it's a great game.
All right, man. Well, with that, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Peace out, Cub Scouts.
I love it.
Me
I
too.
love it. The best stick in the room.